Another big pro of pan watercolors is that they're really easy to use. They're no fuss, it's all ready for you. You just use your water and your brush, you move the paint around and you put it on the paper and you use it. It's very, very user-friendly. And lastly, pan watercolors are some of the more affordable for entry level. It's usually pretty easy to find something that's decent quality that doesn't break the bank. However, some of the cons of pan watercolors is that they have rather limited colors. You can obviously learn how to mix with very few basics, but it can be a little hard. So I even struggle to mix a good purple a lot of the time. So I like having a base purple, and a lot of watercolor pans don't have certain colors. You know, you have a very limited set. Also, something to note is that pan watercolors can, especially cheaper pan watercolors, can be less vibrant colors. They can be a little bit harder to get a really good bold color. I mean, you can build up with layers. That's one of the joys of watercolors, is you can build and build and build, but sometimes it's nice to have something a little bit more bright and vibrant right out the get-go, and cheaper watercolors can sometimes struggle with that. Not always, but sometimes. One of my best tips for pan watercolors is using a eyedropper or something like this, getting clean water and putting a couple drops in every well that I plan on using, and sometimes just every well, because I don't know what I'm going to do yet. Just a few minutes before you actually start painting, because you definitely want to give it a minute to activate. Let that pigment sort of get ready to go before you need it while you're painting, because watercolor can be a bit of a fast-paced painting process and you don't want to have to get held up on a dry pan. The next type of paint that I want to talk about is tube watercolor paint. Tube. I feel like I say that weird. Tube. Tube watercolors are simply paint that you squeeze onto a palette or into a pan and then use that paint to make your paintings. It's basically as obvious as it sounds. So how is it different from pan watercolors? Well, they're almost not really that different. Tubes basically are the step just before pan watercolor. So I just bought these little plastic wells and filled them myself with the colors that I wanted. Then I can use them exactly like a pan watercolor set, basically. You hydrate them, you use them, you let them dry, just exactly like pans. So if you're ever concerned about the difference between tube watercolor and pan watercolor, don't worry about it. They're pretty much the same thing. There's just one extra step with tube watercolor.